I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to start with a moment of silence. I'd like to ask for everybody to remember Lisa Harding and her family if they had a death in the family, and Mr. Ray Brewer family. Mr. Ray Brewer passed away last night. On the roll call, Commissioner Cause, Culberson, and Smith are all present. We'd like to also recognize that Debbie Cox is filling in for Becky. I'm glad to see we have people that are cross-trained and versatile and been able to fill in for other people. I'd like to recognize, we have Mike Stevens here, David Freese here, have Rocky Hempel here from the City Council of Tonganoxie, Ken Miller, City of Lansing, and did I miss anyone? Oh, Gene, I didn't see you back there. Thank you for coming. Thank you. All right. And we'll open up our public comment portion of the meeting right now. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to administrative business.
Just one item to touch base on. The board earlier this year approved the countywide cleanup to run throughout the year. The transfer station does have everything in place out there so that folks in the county have one free visit a year to the transfer station. And the reason I bring that up is because it's been brought to my attention that we are having some issues with illegal dumping out in the county, which has been an ongoing problem. But I think as the weather has changed, people are maybe getting stuff cleaned up. There's no need for it. You can go to the transfer station at one time for free. And be a good neighbor and a good steward of our resources and take advantage of the transfer station.
And Mark, how's that work exactly? They don't need a voucher or anything, right?
They just have to show up and have their ID that shows their address. Each residence gets one free visit.
And there's like a checklist.
They have a database that has all that in there, and they will check it off. And
all they got to do is show up and show where they live.
Show up and show where they live, and they should be able to get that taken care of for them.
And hopefully that'll keep all the illegal dumping off the roads.
Need to dump on the
And
side
there are a lot of free services that are offered at the transfer station year-round. For tires and household hazardous waste. Just depending on the volume, you need to make arrangements before you go for some of those things. But the county website has all that information on it, so anybody who has questions can go there and find out, or they can call out to the transfer station, and those folks will be happy to help educate them as well on any of the free services that we offer. But there is one free per year per the direction of the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, sounds good. I think that'll work better than the 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever. Anyway, is that all for administrative business this time?
Yes.
Then I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to the Board of County Commissioners, Board of Canvassers, County Board of Canvassers.
I make a motion we adjourn as County Commission and re-adjourn as Board of County Canvasses.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on going into the Board of Canvassers? Voting?
Aye.
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 Good morning. March 26th, we had an election to fulfill the 2 new empty seats for the 4th and 5th Commission District, and today we will be certifying those results to you. I will go over each precinct, and then, but our main goal today will probably be to certify the provisionals that I have recommend qualified. Okay. There was a possible of 15,765 votes between the advance that we received election day and the ballots that we received either at the polling place or in the mail postmarked March 26th or before. We had 3,412 people vote. This equaled 21.64%. With those numbers, advance-wise, we had 1,787 people vote advance. We had 1,534 people vote on Election Day. And between ballots received at the polling place and mail, there were 91. We did have a higher turnout in the 5th district as far as voters than the 4th district, and I will give you those results precinct by precinct here. 3rd precinct, 2nd ward, which is in Leavenworth City, we had 89 people vote, and that was an 11.56% turnout. 1st to the 7th, we had 52 people vote. That was a 13% turnout. Lansing Ward 1, we had 199 people vote. That was a 16% turnout. Lansing Ward 2, we had 295 people vote. That was a 17.8% turnout. Lansing Ward 3, we had 237 people vote, which was a 16.2% turnout. Lansing Ward 4, we had 264 people vote, which was a 16.7% turnout. Delaware Township, which consists of Delaware 1, 2, 3, and 4, we had 144 people vote, which was a 19.4% turnout. These were the precincts in the new 4th County Commission District. Now to go over the precincts in the 5th. We had Reno Township. Reno Township had 328 people vote, which was a 31.9% turnout. And we had to remember that includes the advance and election day. In Sherman Township, we had 494 people vote, which was a 25.8% turnout. Tonganoxie North, we had 472 people vote, which was a 23% turnout. In Tonganoxie South, we had 314 people vote, which was a 26.84% turnout. In Tonganoxie Rural, we had 524 people vote, which was a 29.3% turnout. In discussion with voters and the Vote 5 committee after the election, we did go back and look at ballots that possibly were not received, and I did expect a better turnout because as the county clerk's office, we did mail out informational letters with an opportunity for all the voters to vote advance. And we mailed out 15,000 of those letters and applications. We received back 1,637 applications. And from what we received back, we mailed out, excuse me. We mailed out 1,986. We received back a total with, after the election day, 1,637, which was about a 345 ballots that were not returned that were mailed out, which is somewhat higher than what we normally see. I think I expected a higher turnout because of how hard and diligently the Give Me 5 committee worked to put this on the ballot. But I feel that as the county clerk's office, we did everything possible to give people the opportunity to vote. So those were the election day results that I gave you. Does anyone have any question about that?
Any questions, clerk? There's sure a lot of ones that didn't get returned, though. You said 300?
Over 300 were received by the voter. I'm assuming they were received by the voter, but were not returned. So,
What's the typical percentage of a regular election voter turnout? Isn't it like
well,
30 something?
27, last one, wasn't it?
You know, quite truthfully, it probably wouldn't be a lot higher. I just expected it to be higher or anticipated it to be higher due to the letters that we mailed out.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have another election in November. We're going to have our city school election in November. I don't expect that turnout to be any higher than the 21%, but I just kind of assumed this one would be, because there's been a lot of discussion for many months with this issue before the voters in the 4th and 5th district, really throughout all of Leavenworth County. So, okay, as I said, I have 21 provisionals. We had only 3 provisionals in the 4th district. And out of the 3 provisionals in the 4th district, I can only qualify 1. The other 2 were not previously registered. And in order to recommend a qualification on a provisional, the voter must be previously registered before Election Day. So I only recommend 1 being qualified in the 4th district. We had then 20 provisionals in the 5th district. Out of the 20 provisionals, I recommend qualifying 15. Out of those 15, the majority of them were ballots that were returned to the polling place, or no, they weren't returned to the polling place, but they had previously received a ballot and just didn't get it returned. And so they were able to go to the polling place, vote a provisional ballot, and that ballot would count. The other we had 1 that was previously registered in the 5th district, moved, and so we were able to also count that. The ones that I'm not recommending qualified would be the ones that were not previously registered. So those were the only reasons for provisional ballots in this election. So we have a total of 15 ballots that I would recommend qualified. What I will do is go down and we will run these through the scanner. If the board, they will need to make a motion to qualify what I recommend. We'll go down, count them. I will then bring up the official advance and the provisionals, and we will certify those numbers this morning.
Okay. And the amount of provisionals wouldn't change the results in either way.
No, currently, the 5th district had the closest races. Currently, David Freese has 649 votes. Curtis O'Rourke has 199 votes. Stuart Sweeney has 605 votes, and Mike Steben has 673. So between the candidates of Mike Steben and David Freese, there is a 24-vote difference between those two. So I do not foresee any change in the results.
That's still an awful close election.
Yes.
Every vote counts.
Every vote counts, and I think that we can look at numerous elections and realize that that statement is very, very true.
Okay.
And
Any questions?
it's just kind of odd to me. Didn't Curtis O'Rourke get on the ballot by signature as an independent?
Yeah.
And how many signatures did that require? 400? And so?
Yeah, 400.
I think he got 450 signatures, something like that.
And then when the
Close.
election came, he got 100 and some votes. That's
199 is what I show.
Okay.
Yeah, we had 2 of the candidates that filed as independent, which did require a petition to be filed with the office with a percentage of voters from that district.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, are you allowing questions from the floor?
Any questions? Did you have a question,
Thank you,
Mr.
Dave.
Freese? Yes, he's a candidate. Yeah, could you come forward? Yes.
Hi, I'm David Freese. Address is 1012 Pleasant Street in Tonganoxie. First, I want to thank Janet for all the great work she's done throughout this process and walking me through becoming a candidate for county commission. My questions involved, did we check the annex at Tonganoxie to see if any ballots were left there by any chance?
We opened up that, we have a ballot box container down at the annex plus up here in our parking lot. We opened up that box on March 6th when we began mailing, and we did lock it up on election day.
So there could or couldn't be any ballots in there?
Well, they were, people were given the opportunity to take the ballots inside the annex, and we did not see any. Every day we did check there, though, David,
Okay.
to make sure that, and that's why we put the box down there, just for, you know, an easier opportunity for folks to drop their ballots off. But we did close it election morning.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's fine.
And then what's the process for a recount?
You have 5 days from today to request a recount. A bond would be put up. The bond would be based on an estimate on what I feel a recount would cost. You can request a recount 2 different ways. You can request it that it's run through the machine again, or you can request a hand count. We would bring in a board that would not be from the 5th district. It would be an independent board. They would come in. I would assume it would take, I don't think it would take 4 hours probably. It would be a 3-member board. The first thing we would do as an office is separate the 4th from the 5th district. We do have the ballots sealed that were voted on election day, so those would be easy to open up. But we would look at all of our advance, separate those, and then begin the recount. The recount, of course, you can come up and observe. You can have any sort of person you want to observe. I would probably have it take place in this office right here. And if a recount is called, I would probably do it on Friday, maybe Monday. Monday latest that I would try to get the recount started.
And who would, you mentioned a bond, who would pay the cost?
You would pay, it would be called by the individual requesting. If there were any, it could be a check, and then we would refund any money that was remaining off of that.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Commissioner.
Any other candidates have any questions on this before we entertain a motion to return to the Board of County Commissioners?
I would like a motion to go ahead and count the provisional ballots that I recommend qualified.
Okay.
Please.
And that's your motion?
Motion to have the clerk proceed with counting the provisional ballots.
All right, it'll take me 30 minutes if you want to go ahead and go on with your meeting, and then I will come back up with the official results.
Did you second that motion?
I did.
Okay. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 If anyone as
And now I need a
candidate would like
motion
me
to
come
return, or to
over these,
reconvene as
my-
the Board of County
If
Commissioners.
you want me to, we'll certainly can do that.
Make a motion that we adjourn as Board of Canvassers and reconvene as Board of Leavenworth County Commission.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 All right. All right. As commissioners had a chance to look at everything on the consent agenda,
Yes.
I have.
the only thing you wouldn't have seen would be the OCBs, and I believe there's one. But there's three?
Oh, there's three.
Okay. Well, I got them here somewhere. If you would like to look at them, I mean, they're pretty. Yeah. Okay. All
I've
right.
seen enough in 30 years.
I figured that. But, all right, we'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, voting?
Aye.
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 All right. What would you like to move forward with now, Mr. Lawfrey?
Well, I think we have
Who needs to get
the,
out of here the quickest?
we do have quite a few items on there. I think the ones that require public hearing probably ought to leave those towards the end in case anybody was coming in late for that. But possibly if you wanted to move the agenda, obviously we can just move forward with what we have. I don't think the first two items are going to take that long. They're just appointing people to the advisory committees.
Okay.
If you want to just move forward with the agenda as presented.
Well, then nobody has any objection to it.
No objection.
Just
here.
try to get the people out of here if they got other things. I know Mr. Miller's a busy man, too.
Sure. Yeah, I've already looked at it. I don't have any issue at all with just making the motion
Okay.
as presented. First motion to reappoint Dr. Roger Bonner to the Adult Advisory Board. That's a 2-year term. And do I need to separate those out by person or do them all together?
Commissioner, I'd suggest you do it by individual name.
Okay,
Okay.
so that'd be the first motion then.
All right. I have a motion and a second to reappoint Dr. Bonner. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And,
Commissioner, I may have been misunderstood. You could list all of the names on one motion, but I
Oh,
do
okay.
think the name needs to be referred to in the motion.
okay. So let me revise my motion then.
You could just make, at this point, you can just make a
Make
second
a-
motion for the
Okay,
ones,
we'll put the other ones
the
together.
rest of them.
Okay, so now I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Gene Kirby and Miss Christine Thomas and Dr. Vernon Fields and Miss Manissa Hillbronx to the Adult Advisory Board for a 2-year term.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the appointments. Do we have any further discussion? All right, voting?
Aye.
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 You want to take this one?
Sure, I'll take this one. Motion to reappoint Mr. Keith Rickard, Miss Teresa Carroll to the Juvenile Advisory Board for a 2-year term, and to appoint Mr. Kyle Deere and Miss Vanessa Hill Bronx to the Juvenile Advisory Board for a 2-year term.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on these appointments? Voting?
Aye.
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 Okay, Gary?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And I want to recognize, thank everybody for willing to serve on these boards.
Yes.
Because we've got some very qualified people serving on these boards. Give their time for that.
And they're
Okay.
important boards.
They are very important.
They really are.
They are very important boards. All right, are we ready for EMS?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm here this morning. I presented an RBA in reference to the cot replacement and CPR device replacement. As you've probably read in the analysis of the needs for the cots and such, I'm here seeking approval for the EMS department to purchase power cot systems and Lucas CPR devices from Stryker. Stryker purchased Physio Control, which is also our EKG machines. So the compatibility goes with all of this equipment. And here to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners have any questions? Mr. Miller?
No, lots of information to read, so I think it was pretty thorough.
Yeah.
And you got the funds figured out for this, right, Jamie?
Hey.
Correct.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to authorize the EMS department to purchase power cot systems and the Lucas CPR devices from Stryker in the amount not to exceed $540,500.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on voting?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, your building down on Lamming's looking good. I'm
very
glad you brought that forward to put the stone down at the bottom. I think that's going to make a big difference.
I'll be sending some additional pictures of all the rest of the
Okay.
pictures that haven't seen it. It's
Okay.
getting probably about a week out, and
Yeah.
the outside of the building will be completed. We're also going to paint the top, so it's a refresh.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right. Funding request for the youth recreation, or was the clerk going to handle that too? Do you want to wait? till
She was
comes
going to
back?
handle those. The board had requested that we let people know that there were funds available for youth sports funding after we gave money to the American Legion. She did put that notice out, contact a few groups. We have a couple of requests in there. I think one of the things that we want to make sure that the board is aware of is that fund only brings in about $9,500 a year. There is currently a reserve in there of about a total with what we're expecting this year of about $20,000. So as you consider the awards that are on there today, take into consideration again $9,500, so you'll be spending into the reserves if you fund the requests that have come in.
We could go ahead and make a motion on this one if you want. I talked to Janet and Sarah Lynn at the Rice place, left a message for her, but they'd be happy with $500. So this wouldn't be like the local other athletic groups that we were talking about. So if you wanted to, I could go ahead and make a motion on this one. we don't really need to wait for Janet. I already talked to
For the
her.
Rice Athletics, I mean, I know the funds are there, I just want you to be
Right.
careful.
It's just for $500.
It's just for $500.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve $500 for the Rice Athletics request.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 And you have the request also from Easton Youth Athletic Association. That one's for $10,000. And that would put you into the reserves.
I'm not, do we want to go?
Yeah, and I know they turned in for 10. I think John's here if you had any questions for him. But you want to say something,
Yeah,
John?
John, come forward, please.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Knight, one part of the Houston Youth Association. First of all, the minutes from, I believe it was March 6th, state that we received funds 2 years ago. We've never received any funds. So if funds were issued, we'd be interested in receiving those.
Okay.
We went back and double checked. We've never requested funds. Actually, I brought a letter to former commissioners and a former administrator, and they informed me 3 or 4 years ago there were no funds left, and we never put in for it again.
Okay. Don't know if we ever ran out of funds, but I mean,
I wouldn't-
before I was here.
Yeah,
Correct. Different administrator, different commissioners.
right, it's hard to tell what the situation was then.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Go look.
And all the information that you furnished, John, I think we already approved American Legion for $7,000, and I think we kind of set the mark there. So I would make a motion to approve $7,000 for Easton Youth Group.
What's in the reserve?
Total, after the 7,000 that we gave, there's about 20,000. You just gave 500, so there's about 19.5.
Okay.
I think the fishing derby, we usually fund it as well, but that's typically around $500.
Yeah, that's
So, I mean, there would be, again, there's funds available. Just understand that this is not an
Yeah.
annually. You cannot fund these
Right,
requests at that
Yeah,
level.
in a couple of years it's going to run out, but while we're at it.
But a lot of this was equipment requests by, just to try to
Would be
update
a-
your, it's a safety, to me, it's a safety issue for your.
Equipment requests is our
Right.
biggest expense. We also have a high school team that wants to play in the Legion.
Right.
That's a substantial expense this year for us. Not high as it was a couple years ago when it was costing us $3,000 per team to play with the Legion. But still gonna cost us quite a bit. We're trying to pass all that on to the kids.
Is that year-round, your athletics?
Our athletics year round, we have baseball, softball, basketball, football.
Legion's just summer ball.
Right.
Okay.
So a portion of these funds would go towards paying your entry into the American Legion. That's the one that we just funded a few weeks ago.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
I want to make sure it's the same Legion, that's all.
For our youth baseball and softball, we go for both from kindergarten, or actually pre-K, so 3-year-old, all the way through high school. We have 8 softball teams and either 8 or 9 baseball teams. I haven't got the actual final numbers on that. And then 1 high school baseball team wanted to play in the Legion. For all 8 softball teams, we just cut a check to the league for $1,500. That's for 8 teams. We're going to cut a check. I haven't heard the final number, either 900 or 1,000 to the Legion for entry fee. And that's supposed to go, it used to be 3,000. They've dropped it down after receiving their award. And it's, the 900 is supposed to cover umpires, from my understanding.
That's good.
Would 7,000 be all right with you,
I'd
John?
be happy to, whatever we can get, obviously.
Okay,
So did you make a motion?
I did.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, voting.
Aye.
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 Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Do we need to approve the Mel Hendricks Fishing Derby?
I think we can do that without too much
Fishing
problem.
derby.
We've been doing it for
Yeah,
years.
I'm just, okay, motion to approve the 2009.
You have to,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, does this require a public hearing? Okay, I don't know why that's on the agenda for some reason. I just wanted to make sure before we went forward.
For the
Okay.
fishing derby?
Yeah, because it looks like
Oh, the
it falls
permit for the,
underneath.
No, that
It-
was that's kind of mixed in there.
Yeah, it's just out of order on the
Yeah.
agenda. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't one. I
Okay.
didn't think so, but okay.
Boy, I'll tell you, I don't know what you're gonna be fishing for if you require.
You want to just do a not to exceed on that since we don't know the exact amount?
Yeah,
What should we not?
well, I guess we can let them speak
Where's the Mel Hedrick people?
right there.
Right there, planning.
Planning and
Oh,
zoning.
Planning and zoning,
Planning,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
How much funds are you gonna be requesting?
It doesn't take much to put on the fishing derby, probably between $500 and $600. We provide prizes for
Right.
the fishermen and women, and we provide food. Lunch is served, so it doesn't take much. We also provide bait.
Price of worms go up this year, or is it pretty
They might.
steady?
No, it's been a wet year. We'll have plenty of worms.
No doubt.
How many kids did you have last year?
Last year, the count was down. We probably had about 60 families.
Uh-huh.
So, it's hard to say how many kids. But in the past, we've seen closer to 80. So for
Yeah.
whatever reason, we hit it on a bad day last year.
Last year, you did it the same week as 3 other major events.
Yeah.
The race was in town. There was something else going on, 2 other things going on. Because it's been going up every year.
Right.
Every year you guys, since you've taken it over, it's
Yeah.
gone up
There
every
was
year.
something going on because you couldn't go to it.
Yeah.
I went to it.
There was like 3 other big events
Right.
that same week, day.
The Easton had something, didn't they?
Yep. I can't remember what it was, but there was something.
But the year before, it was a big turnout.
Yeah, I went that year.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
people. It was packed.
Happy Hollow has been hosting us for several years, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful lake.
Right.
Fish always bite. It's easy for the kids to walk around. It's a really good event.
Should be plenty of water in it this year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, anyways, okay. So, ready to make a motion on that?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the 600, that's just to make on this,
Yeah.
okay.
Not to
Motion-
exceed.
Motion to approve the 2019 Mel Hendricks Fishing Derby for June 22nd, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $600.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
And it's Hedrick,
Still need to
right?
vote.
No, Hedrick.
There's no N in it.
You might be premature. They haven't voted yet.
That's what I thought, but that's why I was looking at it again, it's like, huh, okay.
No, Hedrick.
Hedrick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Hedrick.
no N in it.
Yep.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Van Perry?
No, just to remind you, you needed to vote on it.
Okay. All right. He's the one that hired me years ago, Mel Hedrick,
He's a good man.
1982.
Very nice man.
Yep. He done a lot for the county. But anyway, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now we're ready for some planning and zoning stuff.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners.
Morning.
This is case number DEV 18108, Resolution 2019-7. It's an application for a renewal for a special use permit for Miller Sign Shop. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval of this request. Miller Sign Shop has been in operation since 1978. This business has had a special use permit in the county for 22 years, since 1996, when they moved to this current location. This will be the 4th renewal of this permit, and there are no changes to this business. Staff is supportive of the renewal of this special use permit. Staff recommends this special use permit is approved for 10 years, since this is the 4th renewal with no complaints. This is Resolution 2019-7. The applicant is present to answer any questions you may have, as are we.
Okay. So this requires a public hearing. We'll open up the public hearing portion of this. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on the Miller sign special use permit? Mr. Matthews?
I've had the pleasure of meeting Kim Miller shortly after I moved out to Leavenworth County, and we became friends. We were involved in community events, but then as a business, where she's moved out on 174th Street, I had her print a bunch of material in my last campaign. Well, again, if I get a chance to run. Runs a clean business, and there's never been any real complaints coming through on her permit to the planning commission that we had to be concerned about. So I request that you vote yes.
Thank you, John. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of this and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve case number DEV 18-108 for the renewal of a special use permit.
Resolution 2019-07.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Next page. Resolution 2019-07.
It's on next page, Vic.
It's on the
Next page,
Yeah.
2019-7.
Go ahead, somebody else do it. I don't have it.
Uh,
Okay.
Want me to do it, Vic?
Where is it? Motion to approve resolution 2019-7, a special use permit for Miller Sign Shop, subject to all conditions.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Hey, Jeff.
Before 2018, we all the plats had a restriction on them. It said only one entrance per lot. After 2018, we changed the access management policy to where they can have multiple entrances based on the spacing. So we are requesting that that restriction be changed to entrances are subject to the current access management policy.
Okay. Now, does this require a public hearing?
No.
Being it's going to be came in as a case number.
Yeah, it's still a case number, but it's not public hearing.
Okay. All right. Commissioners have any questions on this? It's basically a spacing requirement change.
And this mostly benefits corner lots?
It depends on the spacing of the
Yeah.
driveways.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it at all.
No, I don't have.
The more entrances, the better, I say.
Okay.
Especially when you have hay fields and crop fields, but I realize these are for small lots. So I don't have any issue with it.
Okay.
Motion to approve case number DEV 19-041, replacing existing restriction one entrance drive per lot with entrances are subject to the current access management policy.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the access management policy? None? Voting?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Jeff, before you take off, when we go to our next agenda item for discussions, even though it's on a consent agenda, it kind of has to do with the Fink Acres plat. There's one lot in Fink Acres that's not buildable. It's the very north lot. I was trying to find the map of it. You guys have your map of that Fink
Yeah,
Acres? And I guess my question is, when you guys approve a plat, do you work with the state KDOT department? So for instance, this plat has that one north lot that's not buildable because of the line of sight on State Highway 192. So
Yeah,
what are we going to do with that lot ever? And do you guys work with KDOT so that doesn't happen again? That plat's pretty old. I think it was before your time.
If it's abutting a KDOT road, we usually send it to them, send the application to them.
Okay. Because I was just curious on how this lot got platted the way it did when it's not buildable. You know what I mean? So it should have been, it should have stayed attached to the adjacent lot
Yeah.
if it's never going to be buildable by itself. So I was just curious, are we making sure we don't do that in the future?
Yeah.
I think this plat was before you both were here, so.
Yeah,
I was
we
just
don't,
making
yeah, we
sure.
don't do that. We usually send it to them, send the application to them and ask for their opinion on it. So,
Okay.
yeah, if we see something like that, we don't usually.
What do you see happening to that lot?
I'll have to check with them and see if there is anything we can do.
Okay, because I was just curious on these two that they're combining now. Maybe we should do that with this
Yeah.
non-buildable lot while we're at it. So I was going to bring it up, but it was on the consent
I think they would
agenda.
have to make that the property owner would have to make that application.
Right,
We couldn't
right.
just do it arbitrarily.
Yeah, I was just curious if they had talked to you about that or what
No,
the
not
plan
yet.
was or anything. Okay.
Yeah, we can work with them if they come to us.
Okay. So I was making sure you guys have that in your plan now, so we don't develop any more non-buildable lots in a new plan.
No, we don't, we try.
Okay. Because of KDOT. That's all. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have anything else? Well, I guess we want to remind everybody the Council on Aging's fundraiser is the 26th of April at the Church of the Open Door at 5:30. And adults are $20, children are $10. And the tickets are available or at the Candle Queen, of course at the Council on Aging also, the Sunflower Sisters, and then a lawyer title company.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have brought the thing
That's why I
in.
think it's in there. I can bring
I
it
got
up
it
on my
in
desk
there.
'cause we're
But
waiting.
anyway, it's a very, I encourage everyone to attend that, and especially if it's at the Church of the Open Door. There should be plenty of room for people. And in the past, it's just been sold out or very crowded. So
Plenty of
I
parking.
think there's plenty of parking. There's plenty of, everyone should plan to attend. Alliance opened up again yesterday, Alliance Against Family Violence. All right, that's been a while. I'm glad that's open.
The Child Abuse Prevention Council breakfast is on April the 11th.
April 11th. What?
April 11th, they start serving at 6:30 a.m.
Now, we're going to go help serve, right?
We're going to go help serve.
That's
so yeah,
right.
so we have
April
breakfast
11th. and-
April 11th.
And is it down at,
It's down at the Tenpenny on
Tenpenny.
Cherokee Street.
and we'll be there at 6
We'll
o'clock?
be there at 6.
6 in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it last year.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Do you have to
I-
have tickets for that, do you know, or do you
You can
pay
buy
at the
them,
door?
you can purchase them at the time, or if you want tickets, if you let me know, I can pick you up some after this meeting today, because I'm heading over to the meeting with them
Oh.
at 11, so.
That's on a Thursday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You can't make it.
I can't.
That's right. Oh,
Me and Mr. Freeze cannot make that on April 11th.
perhaps Mr. Culbertson could take your place.
Hey, probably can't.
Well, I'd rather go do that than what I'm being.
What time do you have to be there, though?
I don't, yeah, I guess it's not.
You can go
Yeah,
really
yeah,
early.
I'll
You
make
can-
it,
you
never
can have
mind, I'll
breakfast,
make
too.
it,
Yeah,
never
you can have
mind.
breakfast.
I'm sorry, I will be there.
Yeah, it's good breakfast. I encourage anybody that has never been to go, because the breakfast is really, really good.
It is, and Mr. Freeze probably ought to come, and then
And
I
have
go right
breakfast.
on over to the, where we gotta go.
That's a good idea.
I'll remind you.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
And
But-
I just got back this morning from the Leavenworth Education Foundation breakfast, and it was very good.
Mhm. So you got up early this
Got
morning?
up early this morning.
Okay.
And for people up north, this Saturday night, Methodist Church in Easton's got their fried chicken dinner. And Sunday morning is the Kickapoo Township Fire Department's pancake breakfast at the Schwinn Barn this Sunday
Oh,
morning.
it's at the Swin Barn?
Yep.
Isn't that
Okay.
also going to help fund 4-H or something like that?
The Kickapoo Township?
Yeah, I think, isn't that, or something like that, or,
I don't know, I thought it was just for
I
the
thought it was
Township
just for the
Fire Board.
fire
oh, fire department, I thought they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, I think it's just for the fire department funding.
Okay. Well, Vicki and I, we went to Port Authority last week along with Chad. And then I went to Baser City Council meeting last week. I went to the Tongi Business Association Awards Appreciation Dinner last night at the Deer Ridge there on Donahue. Had a pretty good crowd, had a good speaker. They're a pretty active group.
See, this past week I did the Live Well Leavenworth County and the Suicide Prevention Coalition meetings, the Mental Health Task Force meeting, City Commission, the Port Authority meeting with
Yeah.
you, a poverty simulation last Friday, which was really interesting. If it comes around again, I would really recommend people in the community to attend that. And then, let's see. I think that's. Oh, I met with the people from the Leavenworth County Extension Office yesterday.
Okay.
Get an update on what they're up to these days.
Okay.
Oh, and we went to the town hall meeting Monday night.
Oh, that's right. Jeff and I went to town hall meeting Monday night.
And the Extension Office would like to, once we have all the 5 commissioners on board, schedule a time when they can come in and.
Yeah, I think we need to
visit
do
with
a lot
us.
of that.
Yeah, where they can come in and visit with us, so we can kind of make a note of that and get them added to a futures.
Well,
work
they're all
session.
going to be coming here about May
Yeah.
and June.
We're gonna swear in and Friday.
Yeah.
Friday
Swear.
and-
Oh, yes,
yeah,
11
Friday.
o'clock is the swearing in of the new commissioners at the Justice Center.
A little small reception following here. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Yeah, 11 o'clock over there, and then immediately following ceremony over here
Yeah, well,
this Friday.
okay. You will
We
need
need
to
to-
go back in as the Board of Canvassers, please.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn as Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners and convene as Board of County Canvassers.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 We did count the 15 provisionals, and I now have the official results of the March 26th election. We did end up with 3,442 people voting, and I'm going to name off the totals here, and then we'll certify that. Chad Shimke, 531. Troy Smith, 360. Hank Spellman, 386. That is the 4th district, so according to these results, Chad Shimke is the new commissioner for the 4th district. 5th district, David Free, 653. Wait a second. David Freese, 651. Curtis O'Rourke, 200. Stuart Sweeney, 608. And Mike Steben, 681. I have had a request for a recount, which we will perform tomorrow. But if the results remain the same, Mike Steben will be our commissioner for the 5th district, but I don't want to be premature because we do have a recount. And if all remains the same, or there is not a change in the new commissioner for the 5th district, we will still have the oath of office given tomorrow at 11 o'clock over at the Justice Center Friday, at the Justice Center, courtroom number 2, with a small reception here. So we will hold the recount tomorrow. And the candidates are aware that that will be held tomorrow.
So with the recount, we still can go ahead and certify this today?
Yes. Yes. I will inform the board once the recount's over, unless we, a big change. But this is the certification of the election by the Board of Canvassers today.
So, David, if I make a motion, I don't need to separate out the 4th and 5th and approve one, not the other, or?
You just certify the March 26th election.
As presented by the county election officer.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the votes from the March 26th special election and certify the votes from the county clerk.
I will have you sign
Second.
this, and, of course, if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to certify the election results as presented by the county election officer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none or hearing none, voting.
Aye.
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 Thank you, candidates, and it was a pleasure working with you guys.
Mhm. So we need to go back into
Thank
the
you.
Board of County Commissioners.
I make a,
Go ahead.
I make a motion we adjourn as Board of Canvassers and reconvene as Board of Leavenworth County Commission.
Okay, let me
All right.
Thank you. Sure.
Voting.
Aye.
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 All right, we're back in regular session. No, I just, I was hoping Public Works would be here today. You know, like you said, our roads are getting better. But we got a lot to do this year.
Did you need this?
I know the HP 10 and 17 are open now, but there's still some more work to be done. I was wondering about the possibility of having a contractor finish painting and everything they got to do on that bridge, because our guys really need to get back on these roads.
Yeah, we've had that discussion. I mean, they should have, the preference would have been that they bid that project as a turnkey completed project, and that's the direction we'll go in the future. I'm not sure why they proceeded with having our crew finish things like painting and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
We are reaching out to a contractor to see about painting that bridge so that we're not pulling our crews off of road work to go paint a bridge. But we'll look into that. And when we get the cost, we'll bring it up to the board, because it will require an adjustment to the budget for that project.
It's all of our roads, and normally we'd start doing the asphalt work second week of May after the highway conference. They're going to need to get started. That's my opinion. They're going to need to get started early, as soon as they can. And by running a couple crews, they're going to have work zones set up. They're going to need every available person they can to be on the blacktops and also continue to do maintenance on the gravels.
It'll be a challenge for us in several ways. One, there's so many miles of road that need some serious work. But two, like you said, we'll need flag crews and whatnot. And usually we hire those summer help.
Yeah,
and
so
we're going to be
need
starting
them prior
before
to
the
that.
summer. So sometimes that's hard to get
So we're
those
gonna
folks on board.
Need every available employee we have to work on these set up these work zones.
There's some items that we previously last year had identified this year that we were hoping that the county crews were going to be able to take care of, but it's just, I mean, some maintenance extensions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not going to happen this year. I mean, we're going to be so.
Unless we contract.
Right.
Then that's, because our county crews is going to do 219th Street. And I guess we need to find out, are they going to be able to get it done, or do we need to just add it to the next round of roads we bid?
We've started that discussion, and Vince is coming up with a plan and whether or not they can handle it, and if not, we'll put it on the one of the future phases for bidding. So either 4 or 5.
Well, and they may be able to do it, but it's not going to be at the beginning of the season.
No.
It'll be toward the end of the season. But we'll see.
Yeah. And then just speaking of the gravel roads, I promise, we need to make sure that people in the county and the city or whatever, people that are driving or businesses on our gravel roads understand that they're not intended to be driven on at 55 to 60 miles an hour, that it is not safe to do that, and they're putting other people at risk when they do that. An individual on 251st Street indicated that there was a commercial vehicle that came through there
guaranteed in excess of 60 miles an hour, and she was not very pleased, and I don't blame her. So people need to remember, those roads, that's not what they're designed for. If you need to be going that fast, get out onto one of the blacktops. It's not a shortcut to be able to get there faster by exceeding the speed limit.
And I wanted to mention Millwood Road Bridge is on top priority. We were talking about declaring an emergency, but we looked at that and it's not really going to gain us anything. There's no state funds that would help us, so we're making sure we're putting that at the top of the list. It's moving right along. We decided we could go bid and build.
Yeah, the design build process.
Design build.
We're meeting with the group in Kansas City that they're the design build consortium basically, so they kind of can help us develop the documents we need to go out and get that.
And that'll speed it up a lot, not
Should
separating
help.
those two issues out.
It should help.
So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows it's at the top of our list.
It is at the top of the list. And with that being said, I know you'd had some questions on bridge inspections.
Yeah, we just pulled the last couple inspections on Millwood Road to just make sure that it wasn't lack of management that caused the problem. And the last several inspections told us we had another 8+ years to worry about that bridge. So, you know, we were going to build it into our regular maintenance of replacing bridges, but this winter just did it in. And, you know, we don't know if somebody pulled, you know, a semi-load of batteries across that thing or what happened exactly that caused the actual incident, but this winter I think was the major cause of it going before its time. So it's a little bit backwards. You know, ideally when we're going to replace a bridge, we would get the material sitting there waiting for us, do all the dirt work we could do before we shut the traffic off, you know. Permits, everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of backwards, so that's why it's going to take a little longer than normal.
And we have 145, 46 bridges.
Yep.
So the average there,
Yeah.
we can't handle one of these surprises a year though.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
it was a major failure. So anyways, okay, then we have any other business in front of us?
So,
Motion to adjourn?
motion.
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
Aye.